If you've been feeling a little out of your groove lately, if you feel like you're kind of in a slump, you're not quite feeling comfortable in your skin, you're a little bit hypercritical of yourself, and you can't really figure out why, there might be something in this message for you. Something is in the process of picking up speed, and you may have picked up on this. So, this slump that you're feeling right now, it feels confusing because you've really been on the groove up until this point. It's almost like if you imagine a tennis court and you're facing another tennis player, every single time they served the ball towards you, you were able to hit it back. So it was a very good back and forth. Or if you've ever played like a rhythm game, it's like, you know, how every single time you were able to hit the notes, or if you're singing, you're able to hit the notes, right? So far up until this point, you've been able to hit every single note, every single serve that was sent your way. But now suddenly it feels like you've lost your groove, like you've tripped when you went to serve back, or you didn't hit that high note. Something here feels off because it's like, I've been doing so well so far. I've been on the ball. What's going on? Well, as I mentioned, something is in the process of picking up. And this is really, really big. I usually don't like doing these types of readings because I find they can be a little distracting. So instead, I'm going to try and give the most broadest sort of interpretation that I can give you here. But what I'm seeing is something really big is coming together. This is something really big from your childhood, something that you wanted since childhood or when you were very young. It's giving very much like, how do I describe this energy? It's like fairy tale, right? It's something you've seen as a child that seemed like a fantasy, that seemed like a fairy tale, but you wanted really bad. You wanted this to happen really bad. And it's finally time for it to come together. It's like the pieces of this wish, this dream, this goal that you had as a child is finally coming together. It's like if you've lost a piece of this dream, you are now recovering it. And because this is such a big wish and such a big dream that it's like it's materializing, it's taking some time. And that's why I said things are going to be picking up, but it's in the process of picking up. So the reason you may be feeling the slump right now, why you may even feel dejected and like you may question where you are in life or what you're doing, if you are into things like tarot readings, if you've gotten a lot of signs, you may be questioning if these are real or not. It's giving like wavering of like faith a little bit, or like you feel like you're being rejected by the universe. But I think what the universe is trying to tell you is that it's time to rest right now. I feel like I've said this before in a previous reading recently, but you really need to be resting right now because of the magnitude of what's coming in. The longer you resist and try to intellectualize what's going on or try to figure things out, the more foggy things are going to seem because you're not resting. I'm getting a little bit of an immature energy, not really in a negative way per se, but in a sense that, like, there are things that you've learned so far that you are forgetting. It's giving like a little bit of like petulance, um, maybe like a bit of like maybe a tantrum or like a fussiness. It's almost like you're forgetting what you've learned so far. It seems like it has something to do with releasing control or the need to like know stuff. And when we're trying to figure things out, that can sometimes be an indicator of trying to take control. It's almost like you're so used to being on the defense that it's a little blinding. Almost like when things start to go a little wrong or slow down, you start panicking. And when you start panicking, it's like you really need to know what's going on as a way of self preservation, right? If you're about to have like a tower moment, if something is going to go off kilter, even if it's just something little, it almost feels like you need to know so you can prepare. And this may be because you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot of chaos. You've been through a lot of heartbreak. You like knowing because you like preparing. You may have seen some of the worst stuff in your life. You may have been through a lot and you don't want to go through that again. And now, even when you are very much aligned and things are going well, if there's a sign of slowing down, or if you feel like you're in a slump, or if you're being encouraged to rest, you think that something is going wrong because things aren't going right. And sometimes I think people who are in positions like this, who have been through a lot, we take these indications of rest and needing to rest as something bad. I think the simplest way of explaining what this mental process is like things aren't going well because nothing is happening, so things must be going wrong. And the second your brain picks up on that, you want to know what's happening so that you can stop it or you can prevent it, which is the same thing as stopping it. What I meant was you look for a solution to circumvent whatever it is that's going to happen. But you're really, really being called to rest right now and do things that require you to go inward. So if you feel the need at all to get active in some way or to step into the masculine energy, you're being advised to go within instead, because that's going to speed up your wish coming in. As in, as you rest, this energy that's coming in, it's picking up speed, which can sound a little crazy sometimes, I know. How can my resting bring something in? But the only reason you have this mindset is because you're so used to working hard and so used to doing things in order to bring them in. But the way I want you to think about this is comparing it to like any form of training. Whether it be working out or studying for something, you need to train for something in order to prepare. If you want to lift heavy things, you're going to have to do weightlifting. If you want to be an archaeologist, you're going to have to study archaeology. So similarly, as you rest, it's like your spirit body is training for what's to come. And again, you might think, how is this possible? I'm asleep. Well, for a lot of people, particular people who are really busy in their waking lives, a lot of their spiritual expansions happen while they're sleeping. And that's because when you're awake, you're doing things physically, you're dealing with your emotions, you're dealing with like thoughts and stuff, right? So we almost like don't have the time to do that spiritual training. So that occurs in the nighttime, or it occurs whenever you're sleeping or resting. You don't always have to be asleep. I feel like sleep is the best time because that's when you have the least amount of control and your spiritual body can kind of expand the way it needs to and train the way it needs to. But it can also just happen when you're like resting. You don't have to even really be napping. You're just kind of like what people define as like being in your feminine energy, just kind of like receiving. So like you can be laying in bed and just be doing, just like chilling out, just vibing, you know, even if you're just like sitting by the window and just like watching the snow outside. These are all very like chill, laid back, resting type activities. Maybe like a comparison that can help you understand is when you're going fishing, you need the water to be very still in order to see when the fishing line is being tugged on by a fish. If the water is very like rocky and there's a lot of splashing, you don't know if your fishing line has caught a fish or not. So similarly, you need to be still in order to receive that like fish or whatever, right? And I feel like if you're listening to this, you're already someone who knows that, but I guess I'm just here to give you a little reminder. So many cards have fallen out that indicate things picking up speed and movement. And I think your spiritual body is just telling you to rest so that you can be prepared for what's coming in. So rest, relax. Think of this as your vacation before having to go back to work. Only this work isn't going to be burdensome or anything. It might just be a little hectic and something you're not used to.